Hello, and welcome to the Irish Memory Box, brought to you by Irish Community Services. ICS is an immigration and social services provider located in Chicago. The Irish Memory Box fosters a more vibrant sense of community by connecting people of Irish heritage from different generations. It is a new way for Irish generations to communicate and learn from each other. Today, we will be hearing from Irish traditional musician Dennis Cahill. Dennis is most known for working with Martin Hayes, a wonderful fiddler from Clare. Today, Dennis will be interviewed by 13-year-old Joseph Shine. Hi, Dennis. Welcome to the Irish Memory Box. Here is Joseph with his first question.
So, why Irish music?
It's very hard to explain. I mean, I came from an Irish family, but they didn't push Irish music on me or anything. And I worked the folk circuit. I went to music school, and then I was making a living doing the folk circuit, like the Earl of Old Town, all those places that were around. And then I ran into Martin, and I was starting to do some Irish stuff. And then I ran into Martin. He lived in Chicago for a while. And we started playing. We put ourselves together in this band. It was a big, loud rock and roll band. And that went on for a little while. We didn't make any money, and no one liked us very much. But we were loud and we were fast. But and then Martin moved back to Ireland, and no, he moved to Seattle, and he was doing stuff. And then he asked me if I wanted to do some work with him, and so I did as a duo, and that went from there. And then we traveled all over the place, and kind of just it went from there to other places, to the gloaming and all this other stuff. So
Cool.
Why guitar and accompaniment?
um, when I was a kid, I always I wanted to play guitar. The Beatles, everything else. This was great. This thing, and then the folk singers and stuff. And then I started playing some of the traditional stuff with Martin, and I learned a lot from Martin about how the traditional stuff worked. And then he took off to Ireland, and he asked me if I wanted to do some concerts with him. So we did that for a good amount of time after that, and
Awesome.
that was about it.
Awesome.
Were you born in America or Ireland, and where exactly did you grow up?
I grew up in Chicago, and I've never left, to tell you the truth. Um, and from Ireland, and they didn't really push Irish music on me at all. I just sort of got interested in it later when I
Okay.
started hearing some of this stuff.
And where in Ireland were your parents from?
They were from Kerry. They were from Mariach and Kerry, and then they moved to Chicago, and then that was it. We lived on the south side, and then we moved north. So
Okay.
Do you have any relatives or family members that play Irish music?
not that I know of. I do have a nephew that plays. That's it.
Oh,
He's the only
wow.
one I know that. So I'm not sure about any of the others.
Awesome.
I've never heard any of them doing anything like that.
That's so
So,
interesting.
Who are some of the people who influenced your playing?
well, in the beginning, it became you were I listened to some of the folk stuff. I used to go in and see uh, Goodman, John Prine, those guys, and then I went to music school and I studied classical guitar just because I thought I might as well do something useful and I never finished it. I just decided I really don't want to play classical music. It's not. It's a heavy discipline, and you have to work at it hard, and you got to really love doing it. And I didn't like it enough to do that much. And I was actually paying my tuition doing folk music and stuff, so I kind of stuck to that.
Okay.
And then it sort of moved from there. I played rock and roll. I did whatever I had to make a living. So
And was there anyone in particular who you were like, when you were younger or whatever, that you were like, I want to be like that guy?
um, Well, at first when I was younger, it was your Beatles were out and stuff like that, and they had all this different stuff, so they kind of were a big influence. And then when I was in music school, the classical guitar players, I liked Christopher Parking and a few others. I liked that, but then I realized I wasn't really going to be um, a classical player. In fact, I went to a master class, and and the head of it, his name was Ramos. He was from Spain and a well-known classical guitarist. And he pulled me aside at one point. They asked me to go up and do some folk music and stuff. And he says, "You're a good classical player, but you're really good at doing this other stuff. So maybe you should do that." And so, and it was kind of taking a burden off me because I kept thinking I really don't like classical music enough to do that. You
Yeah.
know, it's tough.
Cool. Who taught you?
Was Roosevelt University, Chicago
Oh,
Music College. That's where I went. Um, and then I studied theory with Howard Levy, a piano player, a jazz player from Chicago. Very good one, actually. He played with everything. So I learned a bit more about jazz theory, just chord structure and all that stuff. And then I just had players around here that I knew, and then I ran into Martin, and that started my education on how Irish music works, and it took a while. It's more complicated than people think.
yeah, absolutely. So I hear. I don't play anything myself. Um,
Do you play any other instrument besides guitar?
Mandolin, but not as much as I used to, but mandolin.
okay.
It's basically like playing a small guitar, really, in some ways, except the notes are in different places. That's it.
Okay. Cool.
Have you ever done any other styles of music?
Oh, I played in some rock and roll bands and stuff, and I did study again with Howard Levy. I did work on jazz standards and stuff like that, just because I wanted to learn more about the how to work around stuff on the guitar rather than just have these. I wanted to know how they're put together rather than hitting with my fingers in places, which is a way they usually teach guitar, which is not a good way to go.
Agreed.
It doesn't work good that way.
Very cool. Nice. And who are some of the people you've worked a lot with in music throughout the years?
Well, there's Martin Hayes. I worked with. Trying to think of some of the other ones. I mean, there are people that didn't weren't well known. Victor Sanders is one in Chicago. He's an electric guitar player, and he did a lot of stuff like that. And I worked with some of the regular guys that were doing just kind of Irish folk music, and not too much of that. And then Martin was a big influence in it because he actually really knows every inside thing about Irish music and tunes. So he was a good guide. He was a very
Cool.
good guide.
Cool.
And then the rest of the people you met around Chicago, like Devin and Marta and Jimmy Keane and all these people. There was a lot of players out there that were great, and they were very polite to me, considering I was making a disaster out of some of this stuff. So they were polite.
That's the Irish way, the politeness.
Exactly.
What's your favorite tune and kind of tune to accompany?
My favorite tune. Um, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think the first one I really liked was the Humors of Tulla. It just had a nice thing to it. And then some of the airs I thought were tremendous, and I can't remember the names of any of them particularly right now. But there's so many nice tunes in the Irish thing. It's amazing. It's just there's thousands of them,
Mhm.
and I always
Okay.
forget the name.
Because there's so many, how is one supposed to remember and every single name? And they're usually names that are like long and it's not just like one
Or
word.
they have five different names. That's the
Yeah.
other problem.
What's your favorite place you've been to?
Um, I played a lot of stuff in Clare, and where Martin's from, and I sort of got adopted as like a Clare player because I was playing in a Clare style, and I liked playing there. It was nice. The people were fun, and there was a lot of nice players, and they were very polite and very very friendly about everything. Most of the Irish thing is that way. They're
Yeah.
very, very polite, very nice.
Awesome.
What's your favorite color, fruit, football team, and Tesla model?
I wear black a lot, but that's just because it's easy. Um, Probably blue outside of, if I wasn't just black stuff, but that'd be it.
Awesome. Cool.
Oranges,
Oranges.
the Bears. It has to be the Bears. I'm from Chicago.
Bears rule.
I, I think one of them is an S model or something.
S
I can't
model.
remember. They're the ones I saw on the street. I think they were S's, but they're black and they're nice. They run and everything, but I don't think I'd spend the money on one.
I mean, I guess if
It's
you
way
have
too
it,
much.
it's easy to
Yeah.
spend it on it, but there's no way. I doubt I will in my lifetime have a Tesla model.
Nice. What albums and recordings have you made in the past, have made recently, are working on now, or are planning on making? And where can we find them?
Um, they're under Martin Hayes and Dennis Cahill, and there's three that are out I think that we did, and I like them. And then there's one with the Gloaming, which is a five-piece band, and that was fun because there was a lot of different players. We had a singer, and we had another fiddler and a piano player, and it was fun playing with a piano player. Believe it or not, I know a lot of guitar players don't like playing with piano players, but I do. I enjoy working with them,
And
and I like the.
where can we find them?
Oh, I think they're a little bit hard to find. I can't remember who's putting them out. In fact, I think we were putting them out ourselves. But Martin and I have ones out that are on Green Linnet. We have got three albums with them. One's
Great.
live and the other straight.
Cool.
Free advertising. What are some of your favorite music memories?
There's there's a bunch. I mean, some of them in the big concert rooms when things were really working well. The sound was great and the audience was great. But I've had that much fun sometimes in one of the sessions in a bar, and I've had just as much fun. So it's just getting to play and having something happen.
It's
It's
all about the
That's the best
vibe,
part.
right? Like how you
Yep.
feel, people that you're surrounded, whether it be a huge audience or whether it be a small bar. But there's that energy that flows from guitarist or
Yeah.
from player to person listening, and and they flow it back.
Oh yeah, it's great when even if you're just sitting in a session in a bar and it starts going and it's working, it's a lot of fun. And
Oh yeah.
hours go by fast and you don't even notice it. You feel like you've only been there about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I tell you, because I'm obviously living in Chicago, but I'm from Ireland, from Dublin. But
Ah,
anytime I go to an Irish bar here and a session starts, it immediately just brings me back home and just makes me f feel so Irish. So I feel you on that like experience with it in the sessions.
Dublin fun to play in. We've done a lot of shows in Dublin. It's nice.
Yeah,
It's
it's
fun.
definitely a good crowd. Like people are
Yep.
real into music. You'll get a
Yep.
good crowd there. You get a good audience.
And last but not least, how many picks have you lost?
Probably about 50. I buy them in bulk just because I just do because I keep leaving them different places and stuff and right now I'm on a roll with it. I've had the same pick now for about like 4 months and it hasn't busted and I haven't lost it, so I'm
Good
kind of
job.
the second I buy a lot of picks, I change which picks I like. That's that always happens. The second I get,
Interesting.
yeah, it just I suddenly find one I like better, and then I have to go get a bunch of them. So
Oh gosh.
it
Brilliant. I
just
didn't
happens.
even think about the fact that there are different picks. Of course there are different picks.
There's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch. I like these nylon ones because I like to use like nails, and I'm doing finger picking with the pick,
Yeah.
and the nylon ones sound more like my the other stuff. Like when I'm using my fingers, it sounds the
Oh,
same thing. I
lovely.
can get the same tones. So
Lovely. That's
it's
awesome. Finally, I would just like to ask you, Dennis, do you have any words of wisdom for the Irish community? Any?
Um, I wish they would kind of support their own music a little bit more and their culture a little bit more. And it'd be nice if people in this country don't look at it like the quiet man. You know, that's what the cliche is, and they should realize that Irish people were well educated, and they're not just people going in and getting drunk all the time. And they have, you know, they have great literature has come from that, and great music and inventions and everything, and they should that should be pushed in the Irish thing rather than this whole thing about, you know, they're all, you know, the quiet man with, you know, people getting in fights in bars. It's that's not how it works
I
at all.
absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you, 100%.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us, Dennis. It's been wonderful chatting to you. So that brings us to the end of this episode. If you would like to capture Irish memories, please email me, grace@irishchicago.org. If you know someone with a story or two, let me know. The Irish Memory Box is yours.